Cowboys Nation is in disbelief after a stunning report set the internet on fire. Trade rumors are swirling, names are being connected, and suddenly the unthinkable is being discussed. Could Dallas really be preparing for life without Micah Parsons? And is Maxx Crosby truly part of that conversation? The timing, the sources, and the silence from the front office have only fueled the chaos. Is this a bold contingency plan, leverage in negotiations, or pure off-season madness? One thing is certain, this rumor has shaken the Cowboys world. OMG Cowboys Nation, this is one of those moments where you have to stop everything you're doing and really listen, because what just got confirmed could completely reshape the future of the Dallas Cowboys. For weeks, fans have been asking the same question in panic and disbelief: what happens if Micah Parsons is no longer the centerpiece of this defense? And now, suddenly, a name that nobody expected to be connected to Dallas in this way is exploding across the league. Maxx Crosby. Yes, that Maxx Crosby. One of the most relentless, violent, high-motor edge rushers in the NFL. And the word coming out right now is that the Cowboys have made a move that could be seen as a direct contingency plan or even a replacement-level pivot involving Micah Parsons himself. Let's slow this down and really break it apart, because this isn't just another rumor floating around social media. This is the kind of move that front offices only consider when something massive is happening behind the scenes. Micah Parsons is the face of the Cowboys defense. He's the energy. He's the fear factor. He's the guy opposing quarterbacks' game plan for all week. But at the same time, Micah is approaching the phase of his career where contracts, leverage, and long-term commitments start to matter more than ever. And that's where things start to get uncomfortable for Dallas. The Cowboys have always walked a dangerous line when it comes to paying superstar defenders. We've seen this movie before. DeMarcus Ware, Byron Jones. Even recently, the internal tension around big contracts has quietly changed locker rooms. With Micah Parsons expected to demand top-of-the-market money, there's been a growing belief around the league that Dallas might hesitate before resetting the edge rusher market. Not because Micah isn't worth it, but because the Cowboys are terrified of locking themselves into another massive deal that limits flexibility everywhere else. And that's where Maxx Crosby enters the conversation like a thunderclap. Crosby isn't just another pass rusher. He's a culture-setting monster. A guy who plays every snap like it's his last. A leader who doesn't take plays off, doesn't disappear in big moments, and doesn't need to be moved around the formation to dominate. While Micah Parsons is explosive and versatile, Crosby is pure edge violence. Power. Technique. Endurance. And when people inside league circles start whispering that Dallas has explored trade frameworks involving Crosby, it immediately raises one terrifying question for Cowboys fans. Is this a replacement plan or something even bigger? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't look at Maxx Crosby unless you're preparing for a future without Micah Parsons. Period. Teams don't casually browse elite pass rushers in their prime. That's not how the NFL works. If Dallas is seriously connected to Crosby, it means they are either bracing for a Micah Parsons contract standoff, or they are quietly exploring the unthinkable. A trade. Now, before everyone panics, let's be clear. This doesn't automatically mean Micah Parsons is gone tomorrow. But it does mean the Cowboys are protecting themselves. They are hedging. And that alone should tell you how tense things have become behind closed doors. What makes this situation even more explosive is the fit. Maxx Crosby and Dan Quinn's old-style defensive philosophy, or any aggressive Cowboys front, would be terrifying. He doesn't need blitz help. He collapses pockets on his own. He forces double teams. He frees up linebackers. And unlike Micah, who often moves around to create mismatches, Crosby is comfortable lining up wide and winning anyway. That stability is something Dallas has quietly lacked for years. And let's talk about availability. Maxx Crosby plays. Every week. Through pain. Through injuries. Through losing seasons. He doesn't disappear. That reliability matters more than fans realize, especially for a team that has been burned repeatedly by defensive stars missing time at critical moments. Now, imagine this scenario. Dallas believes Micah Parsons' next contract will be historically expensive. They fear it could limit the roster for half a decade. Meanwhile, an opportunity opens up to acquire Maxx Crosby, possibly at a lower long-term cost, while also receiving additional draft compensation in a larger deal. Suddenly, the Cowboys are faced with a brutal, cold-blooded decision. Loyalty versus sustainability. Star power versus structure. This is where Jerry Jones' fingerprints start to show. Jerry loves stars, but he loves leverage even more. By exploring a Crosby move, Dallas sends a message. Not just to fans. Not just to the league. But directly to Micah Parsons and his camp. Nobody is untouchable. And that message alone can change negotiations overnight. But make no mistake, this move would be seismic. Micah Parsons is beloved in Dallas. He sells jerseys. He brings energy. He's the emotional heartbeat of the defense. Replacing him, even with someone as elite as Maxx Crosby, would split the fanbase instantly. Some would call it smart business. Others would call it betrayal. And then there's the Raiders' side of this equation. Why would they even consider letting Crosby go? Simple. Rebuild leverage. Draft capital. Resetting timelines. If Las Vegas believes they're multiple years away from contention, flipping a superstar defender for picks and young talent might make sense. Especially if Dallas comes with a Godfather offer. That's why this report is so dangerous. Because it actually makes football sense. And when something makes sense on both sides, it stops being fantasy. Let's also talk scheme. Micah Parsons thrives in chaos. He's best when he's unleashed, moving around, attacking weak points. Maxx Crosby thrives in structure. He dominates his assignment relentlessly. Depending on where the Cowboys want their defense to go, Crosby might actually represent a philosophical shift. Less freelancing. More discipline. More edge setting. More consistency against the run. And consistency is something Dallas has desperately lacked when it matters most. Playoff games aren't won by flash alone. They're won by trench warfare. By guys who win ugly. By players who don't disappear when offenses adjust. And Crosby's playoff-style intensity is exactly what Dallas has failed to bring in January. Still, the emotional side of this can't be ignored. Micah Parsons is homegrown. Drafted. Developed. Marketed as the future. Moving on from him would feel like admitting failure in some way. And Jerry Jones hates that more than anything. So where does that leave us right now? It leaves us in the middle of one of the most fascinating, nerve-wracking moments Cowboys fans have faced in years. Nothing is officially done yet. Nothing is finalized. But the confirmation that Dallas is even connected to Maxx Crosby as a potential defensive cornerstone changes everything. It tells us the front office is thinking ahead. It tells us they are not fully comfortable with how things are trending. And it tells us that the Micah Parsons situation is far more complicated than anyone wants to admit publicly. This could all end with Micah getting paid and staying in Dallas for the next decade. Or it could end with one of the most shocking trades in modern Cowboys history. Either way, the clock is ticking. The league is watching. And Cowboys Nation needs to brace itself. Because if this move actually happens, if Maxx Crosby puts on a Cowboys jersey, it won't just be a trade. It will be a statement. A warning. And a sign that the Dallas Cowboys are willing to do the unthinkable to change their future. Stay locked in. This story is far from over.